Hey, what's up everyone? JJ here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to look at one of my favorite scenes from Lego Harry Potter, and that's going to be the Shrieking Shack. We're going to compare the original 2004 version of this set to the newer re-release version of this set. I was very fortunate to find the 2004 version new in box, and now I can add it to my Harry Potter collection, and so I'm excited to take a look at these sets. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe down below, but let's jump right in and look at the 2004 version of the Shrieking Shack. First up, of course, is the 2004 Shrieking Shack set. This is set 4756. It has 444 pieces and comes with 4 minifigures. This set, of course, comes with a build for the Shrieking Shack, as well as a smaller shack on the side, which will have a great play feature attached to it. And we also see this much smaller build to represent Hogsmeade. Not really fleshed out, but it's in line with other sets from 2004. And of course, the 4 minifigures from this set are Harry Potter, Professor Lupin, Sirius Black, as well as Peter Pettigrew. This Harry Potter uses the same face print we saw in the early release of Lego Harry Potter when the characters had the yellow skin. However, there's a nice torso print here, and there's no alternate face print. Next up, we see Professor Lupin. I actually really like the printing here and the color of the green suit, and as you can see, he has a gray cape as well. He uses the same hairpiece as we see with Professor Lockhart. Obviously, it's in this reddish brown opposed to yellow, however. There is no alternate face print, but I do like how you kind of see the scratches there on his face. And if you notice, it also comes with this kind of werewolf head. What's interesting about this piece is it actually goes on top of the minifigure head. It's not a separate headpiece altogether. So here you can see I've taken the hairpiece off Professor Lupin, and I'm going to just put this right on top, and that gives us a werewolf Lupin. A little cheesy, but I actually do like the way it looks. I do wish, of course, there was some printing there on the werewolf headpiece, but overall, it kind of works for 2004 Harry Potter. Next up, of course, is Sirius Black, and this is the first time we are seeing him in minifigure form as well. He came with this set, the Shrieking Shack, as well as the, Sirius Rescue set, kind of that little tower. I think the torso print is nice. It kind of shows, prison garb all tattered up. The hairpiece, I think, works for him for kind of what was available at the time in 2004. I don't love the face print. Obviously, they gave him a new face print, which I think was necessary. For some reason, it just looks a little dead to me, lacking a little bit of character and expression. I think they did a much better job when this character was relaunched in the late 2010s. And of course, here we can see kind of this original, Lego dog piece used. I think it works well enough, again, for what we see in 2004. Another unique character, Peter Pettigrew. I think the torso print's nice with the coloring there of the shirt and the vest. But what is really cool is kind of the printing there on his head. As you can see, it kind of goes around. So he doesn't have an official hairpiece, but it's kind of funny to show that. And then this rat, I actually didn't even realize this was the piece that was included with this set until I was building it, as a lot of the earlier Lego Harry Potter had a different rat piece. And here on the right, you can see the original rat piece from the first launch of Lego Harry Potter. I actually think I like the original rat piece better. This newer one, I like that it's in a new position, but it seems a little kind of shiny to me in a way that doesn't work quite as well for this figure. And here, of course, we have the build for Hogsmeade. This is a very small build, probably representing Honeydukes, and it pales in comparison to what we saw with the Hogsmeade Winter Village visit recently. However, I think it was cool they started kind of considering this in early Lego Harry Potter. This build kind of opens and closes, so you can make it, I guess, into just a square build, or you can open it up for the storefront or look inside. One thing that's cool about this set is there are no stickers, so everything you see is a print. So you do get these 2 kind of detailed prints for the window, as well as those kind of 2 swirl lollipop type prints there for the sign outside. And you kind of just see the window on this side, some goodies inside we'll take a look at, and then, of course, the entryway. Nothing too crazy here on the right. Of course, we see some apples as well as some kind of translucent pieces kind of representing different jars. There is a nice print piece there for the cash register. And then here on the right, we see some of the sweets. Of course, we see some popsicles, a pink as well as a chocolate brown one. We see some cherries, and there's also a chocolate bar. And there is that chocolate bar printed piece. The build here for the Honeydukes is actually very similar to what we saw with some of the Diagon Alley builds from 2004 and earlier. Of course, we see the quality Quidditch supply, and you can see they used kind of that exact same window piece. And then we also kind of got a build for Nocturne Alley. And each of these builds are kind of just 2 smaller builds that are connected so that you can kind of look at the exterior or the interior. And the interior for all 3 of these is very similar, where you kind of see a very open back, an open top, kind of in just random little accessories kind of laid out around the store to kind of create the scene or the scenes that you want to act out from the Harry Potter films. Now, of course, the main part of this build is going to be the Shrieking Shack, and we also have this small hut, which is a fun play feature. So looking here, there are some stud connections here on the top, which is how we're able to add these bricks to kind of create the snow effect. But otherwise, it is a full plastic piece. And if you notice on the top, there's kind of this gray Lego symbol, and that's going to be a button that we're able to push. And the reason you push that button is going to activate a play feature here on the bottom, where you can essentially turn your characters into their animals. Now, pretty much how this works is you just place it on top of the character. So first we have to get the dog inside. So now if we want to turn Sirius black, it was Sirius black, push the button again, and now he is gone and he has been replaced. And then if we want to turn him back to Sirius black, of course, we just hit the button again, and well, he didn't quite stand up, but there he is. Now we will take a look at the Shrieking Shack, and we'll notice a lot of these build techniques, of course, are very common and a little bit clunkier for what we're used to seeing in modern Harry Potter. The set does stand upon a pretty thick base plate, and as you can see, there's stairs leading up, and then there's kind of like the raised platform there, so it is raised up a little bit. There's going to be 3 levels. Of course, we have the first level, which is the door that is boarded up, as well as that boarded up window. And on the next level, we're going to see some additional windows boarded up, and then, of course, the roof here. One thing that I think is really neat is the way this is built. It allows you to kind of change the angle. It can kind of go in a full circle of this the Shrieking Shack from the base. Of course, it's kind of meant to be kind of at this angle to kind of create some shape. You know, it's pretty primitive building techniques, but it was a neat way to kind of create some dimension in early Lego Harry Potter. Now looking here on the first floor, there's not a ton going on. We are going to see this fireplace over in the corner, as well as a table with some things. And this table does open up to kind of reveal some secrets inside. Usually it's the frog, but I put him on top of the table for some additional detailing. And then of course we see the windows and the door. And for this first floor, I do want to point out that on the outside, there's this little thing that you can pull, and it essentially kind of creates an entryway through the fireplace so a character could sneak into the Shrieking Shack. And going up here to the second floor, we are going to see, again, another fireplace kind of continuing there from the first floor. And there's also going to be some windows as well as a bed build. Now, quickly looking at the exterior, I do want to draw your attention to that skeleton skull if you hadn't noticed earlier. This skull activates another play feature. If we pull this out, essentially we can see the bed flips down. So again, we see like another passageway or secret to get from the first floor to the second floor. I also quite like this green cup piece. And in terms of the rafters, there's actually nothing going on here. It's completely open, so we're not able to display anything there. It was an interesting choice to kind of use this white piece kind of with the holes. I'm guessing it was just the part and the size that was available at the time this set was released. This was a Lego set I was very happy to add to my collection. I was very fortunate to find this at a very good price, new in box in 2025, which was great. But let's take a look now at the remake of this set. Next up is set 76407. This is the Shrieking Shack and Whomping Willow. This set released in 2022 with 777 pieces. This set has the same 4 minifigures as the original version, but also includes a Ron and Hermione minifigure. Each of these figures is quite nice. We do see mid-legs for all of them, which is always good to see. As you can see, they're wearing their traditional Prisoner of Azkaban outfits. However, they're tattered and torn. Hermione and Harry have quite a bit of mud. And then Ron, you can just see kind of some tearing there with his sweater. Each figure also has an alternate face print, kind of shows a more angry expression as some of the events inside the Shrieking Shack take place. I especially like Ron's face print of the 3 as a standout. And again, we see a minifigure for Peter Pettigrew, Professor Lupin, as well as Sirius Black. Looking here at the Peter Pettigrew figure, this is quite a nice minifigure. I really like the face print there, and I like that the torso print continues onto the legs. Here on the back, we can see there's back torso printing, and I think the alternate face print does a really good job just with those buck teeth really making him seem rat-like. And of course, he comes with the rat. I quite like this mold for the rat piece, and I do like how there's printing there with the black and the white dots for the eye. And I guess I should say eyes because it is on both sides of this mold. Next up is Professor Lupin. Good printing here on the torso, however, there's no leg printing, and I really like the face print as well. Kind of you can see those scars, and I think this hair piece is probably a really good choice for it matches the actor well. I like that the printing continues here on the back, and I like the alternate face print as well once he has been found in the moonlight. One thing that is different about the alternate character for this is there is an entire werewolf figure. It's not connected to this Lupin figure at all. There are new leg pieces, which is quite nice, a new torso print, and then an additional werewolf headpiece that does not just go on top of him. Last up is Sirius Black. I do like the torso printing there with the tears. Unfortunately, there's no leg printing. Like I said, this is probably one of my least favorite Sirius Black since the Harry Potter relaunched. That torso print does continue to the back, and I just love this angry, screaming Sirius Black face print. It really matches the Wanted poster from the Azkaban Escape. And here for the Grim piece, I quite like this mold a little bit better, and I like the use there, again, of the printing. Even though it's subtle, it does add for the character. To start off, looking at the Shrieking Shack, we do get this nice little fence piece, which is cool if you're displaying your Shrieking Shack just to the edge of your Hogsmeade Winter Village. This is a great way to kind of break up the display. And similar to the 2004 version, we have a build for the Shrieking Shack, a play feature for the transition, and then another build. While the 2004 came with the Hogsmeade Honeydukes shop, here we see a build for the Whomping Willow. And here we can see we can connect this play feature Whomping Willow to the Shrieking Shack here, or we can remove it. Starting off, we will take a look at the Whomping Willow, which of course is how the characters are able to get from the Hogwarts grounds here to the Shrieking Shack. You can see this Whomping Willow is built at an angle and includes a little part underneath if you need to jump under that. And there is this play feature where you can spin the Whomping Willow as it is attacking the various characters. Now, we, of course, have seen the Whomping Willow before in the scene with the Ford Anglia, and this also included a little bit underneath for minifigures to kind of fit in as they transport to the Shrieking Shack. It's a much smaller build. They obviously put it at an angle. I do like they built it at an angle, and I do like some of the detailing with some of the changes they've made there with kind of the side branches that I think work a little bit better. They still use the same sticker pieces, both of which I think work. I'm happy with the build. I think they did a much better job here at the top than they did previously with this, 2019 version of the Whomping Willow. So overall, I do think it was an improvement. If they could have found a way to kind of keep the size of the earlier one, but also maintain the detailing of the newer one, that could have been the best of both worlds. But overall, I do think I prefer this Whomping Willow here with the Shrieking Shack set. Now, like I said, there's also a play feature. Here we see Lupin, and if you notice on the top here, these are clouds. And if you turn this, the clouds have gone away, and that's the moon, and he has turned into Werewolf Lupin. And one cool thing is that circle moon piece is glow in the dark. So here I've turned the lights a little bit lower. We can see it's starting to glow. And so when we turn Lupin back, so the clouds are up, you can still see a little bit of the moon, but it's blocked by the clouds. So that's good enough for Lupin not to turn into a werewolf. And of course, the main part of the build in this set is the actual shack from the Shrieking Shack. And the designers did a great job using really modern deep building techniques to create different angles and visuals here on the exterior. Looking here at the side, we can already see there are some interesting build technique used to create various angles so the shack looks like it's almost falling apart. And we also see some cool use of various parts for both the snow as well as kind of those boards to show that this is an abandoned building on the edge of Hogsmeade Winter Village. Similar to the 2004 version, of course, we can see the steps up to the first floor door. I really like how there's kind of multiple levels for the windows here and how they're blacked out. That's one thing that is different. And then, of course, we get to the second floor, which, of course, is angled and tilted. And I like the changing of the shape and the usage of some of those kind of wood plank pieces. Again, we will see the chimney here on the right side. And on the left side is where we will see that kind of secret entrance here to the Shrieking Shack. Looking here at the first floor, we see a chest. We also see a lantern as well as a chair. There is a portrait above the chair that looks like a portrait of the Shrieking Shack. And inside that chest, we see a chocolate frog and a silver goblet. Now here on the second floor, of course, we see a bed there on the floor. We see a piano as well as a fireplace. We also see here a map there above the fireplace, and we also see a burnt out candle there, that white piece to the left of the fireplace, as well as what's kind of like a bed here on the ground. The piano is a cool inclusion, and I really like how they have kind of these shutters and blinds kind of all messed up here in the interior. And here, of course, we see another portrait hanging in the Shrieking Shack. All in all, this 2022 remake, I think, did a very nice job with the Shrieking Shack. We maintained a lot of the integrity we saw with the early 2004 version, but also improved upon it greatly with build techniques, prints, and other pieces that didn't exist at the time. So now let's compare the two to each other. Now, as we start the comparison between the 2004 and the 2022 version, the first thing I want to do is remove everything that only exists in one of the two. This Hogsmeade build is exclusive to the 2004 version, so we'll take it out. The fence piece, as well as Ron and Hermione, are exclusive to the 2022 version, so we'll remove that. And we only see the Whomping Willow with the newer 2022 version, so we'll take that out, although it's connected to the play feature, so we can't totally remove it from the shot. First up, let's compare the minifigures, and we'll start with Harry Potter. I do like that the outfit is much more accurate to what we see in the film with the coloring of the jacket, and I like the use, of course, of the mid-legs. I think the hairpiece I like pretty much evenly, as I do the face prints. I actually think the original LEGO Harry Potter face print was really strong. Of course, the earlier iteration did not have an alternate face print, so I do think the newer one is the better figure of the two. Next up is Sirius Black. And, I really like the newer one much better. I think the hairpiece, really works very well for the actor. I think that's probably one of the strongest, iterations of a LEGO Harry Potter minifigure from film. The torso prints I like pretty much evenly. There's, of course, more detailing on the newer one, but both really have the same effect. But again, this alternate face print for Sirius is just one of my favorite Harry Potter face prints. It just captures the character when he's on those wanted posters. So definitely like the newer figure, but I like that they included an earlier Sirius Black with the original LEGO Harry Potter launch in 2004. Looking at the mold for the dog, even though it hasn't changed a ton, I think they made quite a few improvements upon it. And like I said, really including the printing there for both the eyes and the fur makes it stand out a lot. In terms of face print, I actually like both the face prints for Peter Pettigrew. Of course, the original one, his mouth was closed, so we couldn't see those buck teeth, which I think look really nice. But I do think both of these work well. I actually think I would have preferred the newer Peter Pettigrew to be dressed in a lighter color, like the light gray suit that we see from the 2004 version. And in terms of the rats, I far prefer, like I said, there's the printing on this sculpt just really helps it stand out. It's sometimes hard to even make out what that one is supposed to be. And looking at the Lupin minifigures, in general, I wish they gave more LEGO Harry Potter characters capes or cloaks in general. I think it really works for the scene. I like the detailing on the torso print for the newer one, but I actually really like the coloring, that kind of evergreen that we see on the original 2004 version. Again, I know the hairpiece, the newer hairpiece, is much more accurate to the actor and the character, but for whatever reason, I just love this hairpiece. Really on both him and Lockhart, I just feel like Lockhart's improvement is a bit stronger. And look, as goofy as this little werewolf headpiece that you put over Lupin's face, I really love the original. It's very, I think it's nostalgic. I mean, it looks awful, right? Like with his hands and his body, but I like it a lot. It's obviously not as good as like the, entirely new figure and sculpt and legs as the newer one, but I really like it. I'm happy they did it, and I wouldn't want them to change that. I'm glad I have this in my collection for sure. Next up, of course, we have the two play features. This original play feature is just kind of one solid piece. This whole thing came assembled. The only thing I had to add on were the kind of brown pieces and then the white slope pieces to create the snow. That's not something we really see in modern day LEGO Harry Potter or LEGO in general. We don't have as many clunky pieces. On the other hand, for the 2022 version, of course, we see this brick built. Well, actually, it's a pretty big piece too, but there's brick built around it with the snow of this rock piece. And of course, the brick-built cloud and moon to kind of create that shift by turning it around. I think both work and both look good on display. I know this isn't brick-built on the edges, but there is some detailing you can see there. So it definitely doesn't feel out of place. And from a kid's perspective, I do think the kind of play feature of making a character change in by pushing a button and then disappearing is a little bit cooler than just kind of turning or flipping around the moon. Getting to really look at them side by side for the first time, I'm actually really impressed with what the designers were able to do with the original 2004 LEGO Shrieking Shack, only because we knew there weren't nearly as many pieces available as they're designing this set. And while, of course, there's no question the newer one is better, looks cooler, has better details, I think both of these can actually stand up next to each other, and it wouldn't necessarily be totally off-putting with the design choices. That's something that's very different, for instance, for like the Dursley's home, where, the newer 2018 version is just so much better than the earlier 2002 version. These actually, they are somewhat similar, and with a few additional pieces, you could really spruce up the original 2004 version. I think just kind of adding some detailing here on the roof, maybe adding some additional embellishments there on the stairs as well. And for me, the inside is where you can really notice the difference. Even though there are some play features in that 2004 version, it's very chunky. It feels very empty in a way that the newer version doesn't, even though there's as much open space, because the use of some of those stickers, just kind of additional pieces and embellished throughout. So I definitely like the newer version. This had a much larger bed with that play feature of lifting it up, as well as the fireplace. But again, this feels much more full, even just with those blinds, some of the pictures, as well as putting the bed on the floor and then creating some height there with the piano. I do like both trapdoor builds where characters can kind of enter the Shrieking Shack through this play feature. I think it's really neat that both of these builds included that. I also really like that each of these has a chimney here on the side. For the newer version, I like the various angles and shapes that it creates with those bricks. And then for the original 2004 version, I really like the brick-built nature of it with all the different types of bricks and colors used to create a lot of different dimension. And of course, for me, the roof is definitely the area where I most notice from the exterior the differences between these sets. I far prefer the newer one. There's various angles of windows created, as well as some detailing there with the snow, as well as the roof pieces, where we just kind of have a giant, white brick piece used for the original 2004 version. All in all, I'm a huge fan of both Shrieking Shack sets. When it was released in 2022, I was really happy. This is a set I hadn't had in my collection, and I was really pleased with the photos when they dropped. And the build was really fun and a set that I really enjoyed. So when I had the opportunity to buy the original 2004 version, I was ecstatic, especially getting it new in box. And, the build didn't disappoint. It really was reminiscent of early Lego Harry Potter that I was used to building, those 2002 and 2001 sets that I had as a kid. So for me, this is a set that has an awesome remake, but also the original set really stands up and can still be displayed with my modern Lego Harry Potter. What do you think of the Shrieking Shack, the new set in 2022? And did you like or have the original 2004 version? Also in the comments down below, let me know if there's any original Lego Harry Potter sets you want me to get to compare to some of the newer remakes. I have my eye kind of on that first task of the Triwizard Tournament set, but also the Dueling Graveyards as well. So let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to stay updated with LEGO leaks, rumors, news, and reviews, hit the subscribe button down below, but I will see you all next time.